Okay, Lee. James Parker, how's it going, mate? Thank you for sending me your golf swing in. I appreciate it. Right, just spent a few minutes looking at your golf swing. Got a great golf swing, mate. Really impressed by a lot of it. We'll talk about it in a second, but just going through your questionnaire that you've filled out for me. You're 19. You've only been playing golf 5 years. You've got down to a 5 handicap. Play a lot of golf 5 times a week. You practice a couple of times a week. Your goals are to become a top Irish and compete for your university, right? They're excellent stuff. But your problem that you say is you've got a push and a push slice, right? And my job is to first of all trust that that's what you're seeing, right? I think you're a good enough player to know what a push is. A push is a shot which starts to the right and ends up to the right, straight shot. And a push slice is a shot which starts to the right and then curves away from the target, slicing away from the target, right? So your push slice, I would question a little bit. Maybe you're hitting out the heel on those particular shots, and it's the gear effect is just making the spin of the ball spin away from the target. That might be why it's slicing. But everything in your everything else in your golf swing tells me, shows me that if anything, your club face is closed as through impact and post impact, and if anything, you're probably going to turn it over to the left. But I want to show you why you're pushing it, why you're starting it out to the right, you're missing it off to the right. Okay, and this is, rather than go through your golf swing, a really nice move. What I really like about your swing the most is how you start down and post up on your left side. You can see how, the club's still going back, right? You can see that club head's still going back, and you're already posting up on your left side, right? Pushing down in that left foot, that lead foot, sliding your hips, right? You develop a tremendous amount of lag. Like I said, you slide in your hips nicely. Great impact position with the handle, your hands. And then really nice extension of the arms post impact. So you've got a lot of great qualities to your golf swing, mate. But my job is to rather than just talk about all the good things and then say, oh, that doesn't look quite right, let's change that, just because that's one of my preferences. My job is to tell you why you're hitting your shape of shot, right? And in a nutshell, mate, your upper body and your lower body a little bit, and this is why I've drew those red lines, right? You can see as you start to go back, your head's moving off the red line, right? So your upper body is swaying to the right, and also your lower body swaying to the right. Now, I don't mind your lower body swaying to the right as long as you do a really good a little bit, right? You're still kind of between those red lines, so it's nothing excessive. And I don't mind that with the low body as much, as long as we do a really good job coming down and how you start your downswing and get back to impact, right? And we'll look from down the line in a second, but you do a really good job of turning your body, and you can see you do a really good job there of sliding your hips to get the center of your hips pretty much over your left foot, and posting your weight up on your lead side there with your lower body. But the problem, mate, is as you come down to impact, because you've moved your head off that red line, therefore your upper body's moved to the right. As you come down, your upper body is too far to the right coming down to impact, which produces a tilt to the right, which is a little bit too much. And the more you tilt to the right there, and this is what we kind of, this is what us golf pros spend 90% of our time teaching amateurs, because most amateurs slice it. So we're trying to get them to slide the hips, post up on their left side more, keep the head pretty stable, which produces that right tilt through impact, which allows the club to attack the ball from the inside and attack it nice and shallow, right? Your issue, I would argue, just giving you a video lesson without actually standing behind you watching the ball flight. I trust that you're hitting pushes and push slices, but let's work on the push to start with, right? I would argue that that's a bit too much right tilt, okay? And that's causing a path which is going too much into out, okay? So the objective is to have less right tilt. We still want right tilt, there's no question about that, right? If you watch Jordan going back, you can see how he keeps his head, his left ear close to that red line, right, to stay nice and centered, nice and stable with the upper body, with the head. And then because he's there, right, as he starts down, the upper body just sways a little bit more towards the target as well as the lower body. And then by the time he gets to impact, you can see he's maybe an inch, right? His head's moved away a little bit. So maybe he's now an inch, half an inch away from that red line. You're 5 inches, right? Which for me is too much right tilt, right? Your upper body's too far to the right. And that's going to cause the path to go a little bit too far into out, right? So that's your that's my diagnosis, right? Your shoulders, your shoulder sway. Let's get rid of these lines. Your shoulder sway on the backswing. So basically, what your head's doing, right? You can see Jordan from P1 to P2, right? Keeps his head next to that red line. From your P1 to P2, big movement off the ball. Right, so that's the root cause of where it's coming from, right? We've identified the problem through impact, and it's coming from that first initial bit there. Right, so the shoulder sway in the backswing is causing too much right tilt through impact. Okay, causes a too much into out path. All right, so that's our issue, that's our problem, right? And you can see Jordan just keeps his left ear nicely on that line, going all the way to the top. Okay. Now, if we stop you, we'll talk about down the line in a second. We'll pull you down the line up, but that's what you got to be working on, mate. You got to be working on from P1 to P2, and keeping that ear on that line. Okay, keeping the left ear on that line. That's your root cause of your issues, right? So if we look at down the line, and again we could get Jordan up. So we're using the same guy. All right. Now you got a lot of good stuff going on from this angle, mate. A lot of really nice stuff. We'll draw some lines up. One through the club, one through the right elbow. Nice setup position. Good takeaway. Hands are kind of moving inward. Shaft and club are coming up that line. Hands and club going through the base of your right bicep. Get to the top, your hands are behind your right shoulder or like that. As you come down, they're coming down through the middle. Your hands and the shaft are coming down through the middle of your right bicep. And like I pointed out from the face on position, you do a really good job of transitioning into your left side, to your lead side there. So by the time you get down to P5, which is left arm parallel with the ground, your hips have already turned out the way and they're back to 0. By the time you get down to P6-ish, you're already your shoulders have got back to 0, right? By the time you get back to and what I also like about what you're doing here, mate, if we put a little circle there where your hands are at P6, you can see now that's the furthest out and the furthest down your hands should go in your swing, right? In anyone's swing, right? From here now, your hands should start moving left, and also start moving up, right? The butt end of the club should start moving left and moving up, and you can see yours, right, moving left and moving up. So you do a tremendous job of all that sort of stuff. If we stop your impact there and we look at your turns, right, whoops, we look at your turns, shoulders, hips, both out the way. Really, really good impact position there, mate. Really good impact position. So I like that. I like all this stuff. But from if we get rid of those lines now, and this is why I say, you know, why I'm kind of maybe questioning your slice. Maybe hit some off the heel with the driver, and therefore you're thinking, oh well, I slice it as well. Well, you know. First thing I want to point out is club face. You look at Jordan, his club's coming out kind of underneath his left shoulder, but the club face, get rid of that arrow. You look at the club face, it's just a little bit closed, right? That position's a little bit closed. You look at your club face, yours has really turned over way more than that, right? So your club face is closed at that point in your swing. We also look at your hands as you move your hands up, and you can see your hands are kind of coming through your left shoulder. You look at his hands, they're coming out well below his left shoulder. His left shoulder's over here somewhere, right? So his hands are coming out well below his left shoulder, right? So I'm looking at these exit points, right? Are they conducive with a path which is going a little bit too into out? And the answer is yes, right? You look at your hands coming through there, coming through your shoulder. You look at his hands are way below his shoulder, his exit point. So what else I'm looking at, mate, in your golf swing is as you come down. For me, there's a big space now between your right arm and the side of your body. You look at Jordan as he hits it, just post impact, right? You look at in here, right? He's got his right arm connected to his torso, right? So as he's turning well, which you do really well, you turn really, really well. That's one of your best points in your golf swing. You've got to keep your arms connected to your torso, mate. You've got to keep those arms connected. And the way you do it is you just put a glove under each armpit, or a T-peg, and you practice hitting balls without the glove or without the T-pegs falling out, right? Pretty simple drill. But you can see just post-impact here, you look at how his right arm now starts disappearing, his hands start disappearing behind his body. You know, his right arm sort of over here, your right arm is still out here, right? So you know, there, get you in the same position. His right arm's here, your right arm's out here, right? And that then, you know, you can really see your right arm coming up now above your right shoulder. We want your hands just exiting here. We want the club exiting a little bit lower and a little bit more left, right? And that will help you straighten the path out as well, right? Yeah, right there, look. So you can see how his arm is coming out this way. Your right arm comes up here too much. So that's what I mean by the hand path. If you keep your right arm connected to your torso more, get your hands exit, that will get your hands exiting more left. You'll see the club exit more left here, more underneath your left shoulder. It's not a million miles away. But don't forget your shot, you're complaining of a shot which is going over here too much, right? So my job as the teacher is to say, okay, well, these are the few things in your golf swing which are probably causing that, right? I'm not standing behind you giving you an in-person lesson, standing behind you watching your ball flight for an hour and watching your patterns. I'm trusting what you're telling me on the little questionnaire that you filled out, right? So these are the things which I'm picking up, which I would, if I was working with you in person, I would like you to change, and then we would start the loop again, right? What are we observing now? How are we diagnosing these problems, right? How have those changes affected your ball flight? Those sort of things. Okay. So in a nutshell, mate, let's go back to this one, and we'll get Jordan's other swing up. So in a nutshell, what I want you to work on is your takeaway, right? From there, P1 to P2, you've got to start feeling as though your left ear stays on that line. Now, there's a few ways you can do this to learn how to keep your head more centered, keep your head steady. The first one, if you've got a friend, right? You've obviously got some friends who you go and play golf with, who you go and hit balls with every now and again. Go and buy a noodle. It's called a pool noodle, right? Something very soft. You never want to use any utensils which are hard. And he's going to stand here, right, out the way, and he's going to hold the noodle next to your right. He's going to lean in a little bit. He's going to hold this noodle next to your right ear, right? And you're going to make some takeaways, right? You're going to have some little takeaways just doing that. And if he's standing there and he's got that foam noodle next to your right ear, as soon as you take it away, you're going to get some feedback as to whether you're moving your head, right? So bump, no, you hit it. Bump, no. Bump, no. So then, just after a couple of seconds, you get that feeling of, right, I've got to actually keep my head more to the left, right? It's going to feel like your left ear is moving closer to the target, all right? And that's actually a drill, right, that you can do by yourself. Actually practice moving your head closer to the target. If you watch Jordan Spieth, right, I don't think he's number one in the world at the moment, but he certainly was not long ago, right? You watch his head. His head's definitely moving past that line, right? Definitely moving past that line. So what I'm saying is, if you've got a fault, and the fault is moving the head to the right too much, which causes too much right tilt, right, which causes the path to go a little bit too much into out, even if it's just by a few degrees, then I would practice the opposite of that. So I would try and get up to the top and do what Jordan does. Get up to the top, and then as you start down, allow your left ear and your head to just go slightly left, go slightly towards the target, right? And that will start to change a lot of things for you, mate. That will give you less right tilt at impact, right? Which will allow you to not swing into out as much, right? That's the best way of explaining it. So that's the one thing I want you to practice, and the other one I want you to practice is little T-peg under your right arm, T-peg under your left arm, and hit shots keeping the T-pegs under your armpits. Okay, you can see at that point there, right, just after impact, if you had a T-peg under your right arm, T-peg would be falling down now, right? Your right arm is not connected. Your upper right arm is not connected to your torso there, right? So the T-peg would fall down. When you finish here, if you had a T-peg under your left arm, again, the T-peg would fall out under your left arm. The best example of this that I've got on video would be a guy named Charlie Wee, right? So look at the takeaway, right? So straight away, right, look at the difference in left armpit and right armpit, and how he's kept his upper arms connected to his torso, right? But then as he comes down, watch how post impact, look at his right arm there, right? So his hands really disappear behind his body through impact. You know, just after impact now, his right arm, just after impact, his right arm is over here, right? And you can see how much lower and much more left. Let's get your swing up. So your hands are coming out through your left shoulder, right? Look how lower his hands are coming out, right? So there's his hands, there's your hands, right? So that's what I mean by exiting lower and left, and the way that you're going to do that. Also look at the club face, right? You look at club face just there, right? The way that you're going to do that, the way that you're going to get your hands moving left more, is by really paying attention to the connection of your arms. Okay, mate. So that's your little evaluation. I didn't want to go through it and just go through it with a fine tooth comb. You know, you've told me your problems, so I want to diagnose the problems and tell you why you're probably hitting those shots. But I'll send you, I'll shoot you over an email just with what I've just explained, mate, and then we'll go from there. If you have any questions or comments or anything, just shoot me an email, and I'll get back to it. Cheers.